found this online. It's myths about that offshore wind opponents say, but it's a bunch of lies actually. So let's look at some of their facts. First of all, they say offshore wind development is responsible for killing and stranding whales. That's what we say. They say that that's a myth. There is no link. According to NOAA, in the biological opinion for Vineyard Wind, it says, here for these projects, we anticipate a temporary loss of hearing sensitivity and or short-term behavioral disturbances of ESA-listed sea turtles and whales exposed to pile-driving noise that could result in temporary or permanent hearing loss. So that's a lot.
Hello everyone. Thanks for coming out to support our candidates and our constituents on facts that matter to the community. My name is Naoka Powell. I'm the second vice chair to the state GOP. What we would like to do and what we would like to say to anyone out there that is willing to sell our oceans and sell the constituent concerns for monetary gain is that we are in a time where constituents are being left behind. Their concerns are not being taken seriously by those we put into office. And this is my mission to give a platform to all the constituents who have concerns relating to how the government is utilizing our resources and how they're not listening to the people who are grossly affected, like our fishing industry here in the ocean state. It's kind of an oxymoron to call ourselves the ocean state when we're destroying our oceans right off the coast for monetary gains. So I would love for anyone in the state of Rhode Island to come forward, bring your concerns to us, and we will give you a platform to express yourself and be able to voice your concerns to the General Assembly, to your congressman, because at the end of the day, we are the ones that put them in office. We are the ones that go out there and we vote. We need to make sure we are well versed in all the information that they're bringing towards us, as opposed to just blindly voting for things that we have no knowledge about. So I implore you, bring your concerns where they need to be in the General Assembly, in your city council meetings, and make sure you're at the table when these decisions are made. I'd like to introduce a former fisherman, current continuing fisherman, Chris Brown, to tell you a little bit about how offshore winds has impacted the fishing industry here in Rhode Island.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Christopher Brown. I'm a lifelong commercial fisherman out of Point Judith, Rhode Island. I'm also a resource advocate. I'm the president of the Rhode Island Commercial Fishermen's Association. I'm the president of the Research Foundation. The East Farm Commercial Fisheries Center. I was a founder of the Research Foundation Rhode Island, the only organization of its kind in the country. And nationally, I'm the president of the Seafood Harvesters of America, the largest organization of fishing groups in the nation, with members from Alaska to Maine. I've been fighting wind farms for 15 years. It didn't start out a fight. It started out a process to find a way to expand the utility of the oceans. We started a process to develop a document called the SAMP, the Special Area Management Plan. The SAMP was supposed to find ways to site these things in such a way that was respectful of the ocean, of the harvesters, of recreational interests, of safety factors, of everything. It was a great document. We spent 10 years, just citizens coming together once a week, voting on things. It is demonstrative of democracy. The very same democracy that founded our nation, the one that we are the most proud of in the world. The SAMP was, the ink was no sooner dry on it than it moved up the ladder and fell into the crosshairs of federal politicians. One of those would be Sheldon Whitehouse. He is no friend of the fishermen, no friend of the ocean, and he deserves to find another source of employment. We went from being just common people, coming together, forming a document that was held up as being the greatest document of its kind in the nation. The state rallied around it, and about that time, Gina went off to Washington and started to undermine it. On the last day that we negotiated with one of the developers. Gina hired our lawyer and left us without a lawyer. 2 days before the final negotiations with Vineyard Wind, NOAA decided that they no longer had to pay for our economist or our lawyer. So we were left going into negotiations, just a bunch of high school graduate fishermen against 6 or 7 of the most powerful lawyers in the world. So we kicked their ass and left. So as the politics of things go, we're not doing our job. We're using politics as a proxy for science on so many levels. There are a few politicians that could pass a high school science class, let alone decide what the best course of action to redesign our national energy standards and policies. The best thing a politician can do is secure funding. The best thing they can do is hire a group like the National Academy of Science to do a $10 million study on what a meritocracy of energy sources would be, complete with costs, life expectancy, complete with, consequences. What will it do to the planet? If climate change, the battle against it is to save the planet, how is ruining the ocean okay in the course of trying to save the planet? It is not. So the politics are broken. We need to also have some policy. Everyone knows that good policy gives rise to good outcomes. No policy gives rise to chaos. That is exactly what we have right now. There are no policies anywhere to be seen in offshore wind. None. As a matter of fact, the offshore wind initiative is an expression of autocracy in a representative republic. It is the wish of one man. In order to implement offshore wind, Biden has had to suspend Magnuson Act, the fisheries Bible, the one that has given us the strongest fisheries in the world. He has had to run roughshod over the Marine Mammal Protection Act. He had to suspend that so they could kill whales. He had to suspend the Endangered Species Act to allow the take of right whales. If you're a president and you're going to advance the cause of this nation, you should be able to do so without running roughshod over the pillars of our environmental conscience. You should not have to ruin things in order to make things slightly better in your eyes only. Last of all, I just want to talk briefly about a system itself. Physicists will tell you that offshore wind is an illogical endeavor. You cannot aggregate loose density energy into such a form that it can be transmitted profitably. They haven't figured out how to do it. This doesn't make sense without us paying for it. Frankly, I paid for enough things. It just is going to break us. The average cost of electricity is going to triple. There has been no consideration given to the elderly, people on fixed incomes. There is no upside to this. You know, their mantra in the beginning, the wind is free. Well, talk to the people on Block Island about how free the wind is. It's crippling. It's going to be the biggest spike in inflation we've ever seen. And cities that are going to be dependent on offshore wind for electricity are going to lose all their manufacturing. Manufacturing is going to run from this stuff. So it'll collapse in time under its own hubris, but in the meantime, we need to stop funding it. Energy welfare is, for huge corporations, is not a good deal. Thank you.
I am here representing Save Greater Dowses Beach as well as Barnstable Speaks. They are both Cape related organizations fighting against offshore wind, and they're landing on our beaches in Barnstable, Massachusetts. I am a volunteer for them. I just try to get the word out about what is happening in our town. Offshore wind does not just involve the towers and what is happening to our marine life. It also, we have to consider the landing on our beaches and what they are doing then to our towns with the building of substations. In the town of Barnstable, we have 3 proposed substations to be built. They are over 10 acres in size. They will be the largest recipients of this type of energy on the East Coast, and I believe actually in the country at the moment. We are basically being used as a guinea pig for this new offshore wind idea. I do believe it will affect our property value for those that are within the 5-mile line of cables that are to be dug and run through our town. The village of Centerville is currently proposing to have the cables land on our beach, 5 miles of cables dug through our town. The village of Centerville is historic. They will be digging 200-year-old trees will be removed for cable landing, laying in our roads. They will be clear cutting 10 to 20 acres of property for the construction of substations. Those substations are being built on top of our sole source aquifer. In the event of an accident, it could completely desecrate the drinking water for all of Cape Cod. And that just seems to be falling on deaf ears. My thought is it's about money. Offshore wind came to our town offering money to help us pay for our wastewater treatment structure that obviously the Cape is in need of building. But the $16 million that they offered to the town of Barnstable is not worth the potential of what could happen to our drinking water, and not just for our town, but for the entire Cape. Please be educated, do your own studies, read about it, whether it's in the news, in the paper, on social media. There's a lot of information out there. Attend meetings and just be vocal. Our group has a website, Save Greater Dowses Beach. There's also Barnstable Speaks, and we are also on social media, Facebook, under those names.